It's Thursday again, tell everybody to lock in, grab some popcorn, a drink, and go and throw your AirPods in. It's the 1 hour show, constantly speaking facts. Bulletproof stats are always shooting from Matt. And when it comes to Kyle, you getting numbers and style. Jake is gonna educate you, he has that knowledge on file. Players, step your game up, don't be sluggish or lazy. Or Jimmy J might hit you with a shaky baby. Catch him on YouTube or any podcast platform. Breaking all the news down like Shaq does the backboards. No hot takes, this is where the hottest debate's at. Now kick your feet up, cause it's time for straight facts.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains, presented by the Up On Game Podcast Network. It's your boy, James Jackson. The full roster is with me, as always. Jake Galley, Kyle Sirik, Stat Matt Robinson. It's a weird week right now because it's the in-between week of Super Bowl week. You know, like the NFC and AFC championships just happened. The Super Bowl isn't happening yet. Media week hasn't started yet. So we're in like this lumber kind of period, but coming off, a great championship weekend, which we'll dissect, in a minute.
How football's such, like the NFL is the best product, in my opinion, at least American sports.
Yeah.
How have they not came up with a better concept for the week in between the conference championship?
The Pro Bowl.
We got the Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl.
I have
We got the Pro Bowl.
I would rather have like my fingernail pulled off than watch the entire.
Slowly.
Yeah. It's tough.
Well, you know what they need to do? They need to bring back that little skills challenge.
Yes, the skills
Yeah.
challenge.
Those
Yes.
were fun. Like
Those were great.
now all they do is what? They play like a dodgeball game.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's like
They did that like 2 years ago or something.
I don't want to get us too derailed, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, who cares about the Pro Bowl?
No, it's a good start.
The Olympics start.
True. Actually, that's true.
Tomorrow.
But we're talking about what is the NFL doing?
I know.
Like, like everything else is giving us
At least, I mean, this is 1 in 4 years where there's actually something with the Olympics.
That's
true.
true.
At least it's slightly better.
I mean, NFL, just get your act together in this in-between week. But we'll focus on the last thing that did happen on the field, and that was the conference championship game. Just continues to be cold.
Man.
With a little bit of help of ineptitude of the Chiefs, I'll
Right.
say. But but before we get into any of the stats, before we get into the facts of this game, was it a Chiefs choke job, or is Joe Burrow just that cold?
It's somewhere in the middle.
It's not Joe Burrow.
Yeah. But
You don't think it's Joe Burrow at all?
No, it's to me it's the Bengals defense for the Chiefs, and I think it's kind of I'd put it on the Chiefs, but the Bengals defense definitely deserves a lot of credit.
Okay.
yeah, I that's a good point. The defense was the one thing that stood out. You look at all four sides of the ball, both teams' offense and defense. The Bengals D is what stood out. But this was a AFC Championship game. This was a football game. You're an athlete. When a game gets competitive, you do what you got to do to win. It might not be the prettiest, right? And Joe Burrow kept his cool. He didn't play great, to Matt's point. He didn't go out and win this game.
He threw one pick in the fourth quarter, and then he had another pick dropped in the fourth quarter.
He also came back from down 18.
I know,
So someone had to do that.
But he wasn't like lights out. He was
no
fine.
one was. But it's one of those. It's a sports game,
Yeah.
and it's at the two, quote unquote, what they should be, the two best teams in the AFC. That's what the championship game is. They fought. That's what you do in a competitive aspect in any sport, right? Now, was it the prettiest? No. Did Joe Burrow lights out? No. Patrick Mahomes didn't either, right? So I think the guy that keeps their cool and knows how to go through that, not that Mahomes doesn't, was the one that won and did it better.
Yeah, first off, we're not going to treat Joe Burrow like he's some Jimmy G out here.
Thank you.
We're not going to treat him like that.
Thank you. Joe Burrow.
He
No,
wasn't.
but he wasn't any better than like Matt Stafford was.
So I do think that we should put more stock into what the defense did.
That was the outlier.
But
Not Eli Apple. The Bengals
We'll
defense.
get there.
Oh my
We'll
gosh.
get there.
Not
We'll
Eli
get there.
He's
Apple.
the worst. Or
the
Eli
Bengals
Apple did
defense.
make the tackle. He did
We'll
make
get
the
there.
tackle.
We'll get there,
But-
process.
I just think that, and we talked last week, we have highlighted all year the sacks, the decision not to pick an offensive tackle. One sack.
When is it?
One
When is it going to
sack.
hurt him?
Right.
We're like calling on it for them to hurt it. Like, to get hurt by
It goes to Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow. Hats off to them for not allowing that to wreck the game plan. And we're not going to touch on the Super Bowl, but that'll be another. Once again, another focal point for the Bengals.
And I guess Joe Burrow will keep finding ways to overcome that. But we'll go on both sides of that narrative. First, we'll talk about maybe how did the Chiefs kind of choke this game away. But then we'll give Joe Burrow and the offense and their defense credit too. But first, we have to talk about how the Chiefs kind of crumbled.
Crazy.
And we're not used to seeing that. So first question is, like, who deserves the most blame in this thing? Is it the defense? Is it Patrick Mahomes? Is it the Chiefs as a whole? Is it Andy Reid for the play calling? Like, who deserves the most blame in this?
I think you can justifiably say this is maybe the first time ever in Patrick Mahomes' career that he has lost his team a game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to say because he's the most talented player in the league. He's still going to be next year. The Kansas City Chiefs are still going to probably be the favorite next year, regardless of what happens here. But the way that he played in that second half for the second straight time against this Bengals defense, A, is something to examine if you're another team. B, very staggering and unsettling if you're a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, Chiefs scored. Before you go, Chiefs scored just 3 points in the second half of that game. They went up 21-3 at halftime and kind of put it in park, kind of put it in cruise control, and it bit them in the behind. And it's funny because Patrick Mahomes said at the end of their Week 17 loss, they asked, why did this happen? And he said, I think we got too comfortable. I think we got a lead, got too comfortable, let our foot off the gas pedal. And I was so surprised to watch them do it again. Like I was referencing that the entire time I'm watching this game. He literally said they were going to do the exact thing they're doing right now. And they tried to become a running football team kind of midway through that game. And I remember saying, I don't know if the Chiefs know how to do this. I don't know if they know how to let their foot off the gas pedal, control clock, run the football, but still stay in attack mode. And they got outside of themselves. They found themselves in situations they don't want to be in. Patrick Mahomes takes bad sacks, and all of a sudden, the Bengals are right on your bumper. So a combination of everything. For me.
Yeah, for me, it's very close, but I blame Reid more than Mahomes, just because I just look at when people have been comparing, like, will Mahomes ever pass Brady and all this stuff was narrative before last Super Bowl. It's been a narrative coming up. And the reason why I just don't think that's possible just from a win standpoint is because the perfect combination of having Belichick and Brady. When Brady would have an off game, Belichick would will them to the win. And Reid is a Hall of Fame coach, but he didn't cover for his quarterback who was clearly struggling in the second half with the right play calling. He didn't run the ball a lot in the second half. The Bengals really did a good job adjusting, and Mahomes was like 0 for 6 with a pick on throws outside the hashes, and it's outside the numbers. And Reid just not seeing how to balance where Mahomes was struggling and get the team to win is just what the thing is. And then it's like little stuff like Kelsey not being on the field on the 2nd and goal at the end of the game. But to me, it says that's where a coach has to be a coach and see his star player struggling and win it. And Reid didn't do it.
I mean, you get kind of spoiled when you've never had to use that muscle in the last 3 to 4 years, right? Because he just goes out and makes these crazy plays and wins you the game. But Kyle, blame game.
I think we split it up. Remember what we did with the Sixers after they blew the Hawks series last year? We kind of split it up.
Go to put it in the rows.
Yeah,
who's in front? Who's in the second row? Who's in the third row?
Now instead of Doc Rivers and Ben Simmons, we're looking at the guys Matt talked about, Andy Reid and Mahomes. Right. Andy Reid's the one you can point a finger out. I'm sorry. What was it? I don't know what down it was, but 5 seconds left. You already had taken that shot once. I'm talking about the end of the first half. You'd already taken that shot once. It didn't work out. Now there's 5 seconds left. You're up 18, right? It was 21-3. Go up 21. Go up 21 into the half. I don't understand that at all. And then, of course, I mean, if you look at the play, why Patrick Mahomes would do anything.
That was the first read. Hill was the first read on the play.
Why would he do anything except throw the ball to the end zone, right? So there's that. But then you also do look at Mahomes. 1.4 QBR in the second half in overtime. I mean, for the best, probably people look at him as the best player in the league, if not the best quarterback in the league for sure is the public narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to put blame there. And if you want to blame the O-line a little bit, because I had never seen the Bengals defense play like that, especially the front seven, get all that. So there's a lot of things that divvy up. I mean, receiving core did fine. Jerick McKinnon played fine. But those are auxiliary pieces to what the Chiefs do, right?
I think
we know what their offense is. So, I mean, it's not an all-time collapse, but it's the culmination of those things we're building up throughout the game. You hit that turning point going into the locker room to halftime, and you never come out and you never get that back in the second half, and it led to you can see it coming.
Andy Reid special too. Like, remember, this happened to them
against the Titans,
in
a wild card round, and the Colts too.
Colts a while ago was the one that I remember, where it's just like crazy collapses. all of this to say, and I just want to, when we talk about blame, when we talk about it's Mahomes' fault, yada, 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 it took them getting 3 points in 8 plays within the 5-yard line, 4 plays at the end of the first half, 4 plays at the end of the second half. They end up kicking a field goal, putting it to overtime. But, like, how many times does Kansas City run 8 plays within the 5-yard line and score three points?
I mean, they started within the 5, and back-to-back Mahomes sacks put them outside the 30. That's just terrible offense. and I ride with both you and Kyle's points. And Matt, to your latter point, I don't think enough blame gets put on Patrick Mahomes, to be honest. Like I for this game,
it's hard to do.
No, I don't hear enough blame on Patrick Mahomes for this game. Like, yes, maybe some schemes could get drawn better, but if I have the best quarterback in the world, like I need him to not make losing plays throughout the course of the game, especially if I'm trying to hold a lead and stave off a comeback. You know what I mean? Like, and he just put the Chiefs in so many bad scenarios. And when you're like constantly dropping back and your first thing to do is kind of spin around 3 times and make a home run hero play. Like sometimes so many people have this conversation with Carson Wentz where sometimes the best play is to throw the ball away. Not compare him. But trying to hold the ball and make this hero home run play every time. Sometimes you have to recognize I don't have the best offensive line in the world. So the ball needs to come out quick. Sometimes I don't have the luxury of running around all over the place. And to an extent, it makes me think about the Super Bowl last year against the Buccaneers a little bit differently, because if you know your offensive line is that battered, people were kind of praising him for running 450 yards in the backfield. And now, seeing it kind of happen again and it be a detriment, it's like maybe he shouldn't have spent all that time running in the backfield trying to evade defenders. Maybe it should have been just stepping up in the pocket. Maybe it should have been getting the ball out quicker. Yeah. Maybe it should have been having better reads instead of trying to overcome it the other way of I'm going to spin out the back door every single time and try to throw across my body.
It's funny you bring up the Super Bowl because it was in the second half super reminiscent of that Super Bowl. Yeah. And we heard earlier in the year, we talked about him earlier in the year. We see coverages that no one else sees. So speaking to that, in the second half, the Bengals dropped 8 men into coverage 45% of the time against them. And when they did that, when they did drop 8 men into coverage, they held the Chiefs' offense to 38 net yards on 15 plays. So, like, they're having to bear some of the brunt of the load of, like, yeah, maybe when you are this great, you're going to have to be the trial and error. You're going to have to endure the error because there isn't really a playbook on how to beat that when they're running those schemes.
Oh, let's just stay on that side perfectly then, because we got to talk about the Bengals side of it too. It's not all just the Chiefs giving it away. The Bengals played one heck of a game to bring themselves to the Super Bowl, everybody except Eli Apple. So what did the Bengals do on their side of the field? I mean, I can't believe that man, right? Like
he's the
unbelievable. Just unbelievable, right?
Quarterbacks are just built like if you're a good cornerback, you have to have a little troll in you. He's saying, who do I hate more, the Giants or the Saints?
You cannot be that unaware of yourself. Like, you can't be that unaware.
He was on the high of going to the Super Bowl. He was riding that win. But no, you're right.
To tweet at them and say like DM me for Super Bowl tickets, like he gonna find out he's not that big. Like you paying $6K.
He's gonna be looking at some Cooper Kupp tape.
Because he really didn't play that well. He did make probably in my mind the second biggest play of the game, whole game. Both plays were made by their defense. The other one being Hubbard, that sack at the end to send the game to OT. Well, actually, didn't make Butker kick it, made it. But, yeah, I mean, the Bengals, Mahomes, you can't let him get comfortable in the pocket. James just talked about he did all that running around. Maybe that wasn't the best choice of him, but they forced him to do that, right? They're dropping 8 guys back in coverage. They're hiding guys like Hubbard on that blitz as well. It wasn't a blitz. It was a QB spy, and he made the decision to go and blitz. A great decision, straight instinct, right? Mm-hmm. So stuff like that is – and Mahomes tried to run around him, and he broke down and made the tackle. So, I mean, a lot of good individual plays for the Bengals, and yes, Eli Apple had one. I agree with you. But everything else, I agree with you saying that, he played bad because he did. But everything else on that defense, game plan to execution – was very sound. I mean, not many defenses can make Mahomes look like that. Nonetheless, in the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead. That's where I was getting there. I forgot the name of the stadium.
I was kind of poo-pooing Burrow, so I just want to walk that back a little bit.
You were poo-pooing. Why were you poo-pooing?
So I just wanted – he didn't play – I feel like quarterbacks get too much credit for wins a lot of the time. And Burrow's been good this playoffs. He hasn't been great, is basically my point. But what makes a quarterback a really good playoff quarterback is not caring about your most recent throw.
Yeah.
Because Burrow,
Short memory.
doesn't matter if he had a drop pick on the drive where he had the drop pick on third down, he escaped the sack miraculously and ran for the first down. The fact that those things didn't faze Burrow the slightest, hitting that third down to T. Higgins that was so crucial to them getting the game-winning field goal after the pick. It's those short memory quarterbacks that always wind up winning in the playoffs, and it's quarterbacks that get in their head that wind up losing.
And it's great because even when you're making this comeback, you start to feel yourself gaining momentum, and at some point you have to forget the rest of the game. Like, I don't care what happened through quarters 1 through 3. I have an opportunity in the fourth to win this game. So this is the only part I'm worried about. It's the only game I'm worried about, the game that I'm about to play right now. I mean, she's just icy. And you guys saw the pregame picks. Like, it's on record on the podcast, me saying the Chiefs. Then I watched how this man walked up the Arrowhead on game day with the Cartier glasses. I said, I have to change my pick right here and there for the sake of parity too. But I was like, I have to change my pick.
Nailed it.
Joe Cool.
Whew.
And to that point, Joe Cool, he stays in the game, collected, so focused.
Joe.
The only emotion we saw out of him was when the Chiefs won the coin toss, and he gave a little, like just a little bit inside. But I was really impressed. And this is what I was making that point right at the jump, that he played a good football game. Sometimes not everything goes well. His stats weren't amazing, but you still see him in the pocket. A lot of young quarterbacks, and I think we can take him out of the young quarterbacks and into the best quarterbacks discussion after this season. But a lot of young quarterbacks aren't good at getting to their second, to their third read, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it really didn't have to be Jamar Chase on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday. CJ Uzomah, who has been a great target, probably hasn't had the most targets on that team, but has been a great, reliable check down. Got out in the first quarter. He's going to Higgins. Tyler Boyd started the game with like 4 catches before Jamar Chase had 1 or maybe 2. I mean, I like how he's getting through his reads, isn't relying on, one receiver to make a play. He's like, oh, you're not open? I'm checking 2, 3. And that's what I see out of a 24-year-old quarterback, 25, whatever he is. Second year in the league, didn't even really get a full first season. That's so impressive.
First full season.
Which is so impressive.
It's impressive. No, he's to me ascended to the very top of this young, next generation of quarterbacks.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks not developing probably as they should, Jimmy G and the 49ers lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. We're going to move on.
Don't talk about your quarterback next year like that.
That's your guy in Tampa. I'll take Kyle Trask over him, man. I really will. I really
can't take Kyle Trask.
How do we know? How do you know?
Jimmy G.
Kyle Trask could be good. How do you know?
Jimmy G is
that
decent.
I'm not. This is not what we're going into. You're not gonna trick me into this today. We're gonna talk about how he lost in this ugly performance that he put on in the NFC Championship game. The Rams ultimately beat the 49ers. Really good game at the end of the day to go to the NFC Championship game. But it was really like, how did the Rams end up winning this game? Because for the beginning, looked like they had it. Then it looked like here comes the 49ers. Oh, the Rams are about to blow it. Sean McVay is about to blow it.
Oh.
He really wanted to blow that game.
I don't know what's
Those
up with
challenges
him.
were
Like, what is
Neither
that?
one made sense.
Either one.
They have a guy.
Neither
They
one.
have a guy or girl up there watching the game, making it like, "Hey,
Had
you
to
need
be
to challenge
screaming in his
that.
ear, don't do it, don't do
Hey,
it, don't do it,
don't challenge that." Just like you, me, the viewer, watching at home, are like, "All right,
Oh,
really
yeah,
shouldn't
don't.
challenge that. Really shouldn't burn your last time out.
And your last
Challenging
time out.
a fumble that was never
when you're
going to get-
losing.
right? It was. I cannot believe A, they escaped this game with a win.
Okay.
And B, that if they would have lost, he would have been under big time fire.
So all things considered, one, I think he still had some explaining to do when he got in the locker room. But all things considered, how did the Rams win this game? Like, how'd they get it done then?
To me, it's one. I mean, like, as much as coaching one way with McVay made some errors, put his team in a bad spot, the fact that Deebo Samuel didn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter is ridiculous. San Fran really doesn't have a great offense. We've been saying this. They rely heavily on the run. They rely even more on Deebo Samuel, whether it's run or pass, right? So that was questionable, and they're not a high-powered offense, right? They stick around in games. That's been their formula. We're going to get the stop on D, and it was a low-scoring game, and they just didn't score enough points to get it done. Like, to me, the Rams didn't play great. I think both teams
I don't think they did.
in the AFC Championship played better than both teams in the NFC Championship did.
I'll give you that.
And
one.
that's as bad as what we just talked about, how KC didn't even play up to half of their potential.
For the past 2 rounds, you could say that too.
Yeah,
Buffalo
probably.
and Kansas City as well.
Oh, yeah.
The Rams tried their best to
now
give
this
away
was
both of these games.
Now, what's concerning going into the Super Bowl, and we'll hit Super Bowl next week, so I won't talk about the game, is that they just won 2 ugly football games.
Yeah.
Now, they did earn the one against Tampa Bay. They tried to give it away, but their
they earned it at
offense
the
looked
end,
good.
yeah.
They earned it. This one, I'd be a little worried about. Now, you're going to the Super Bowl. That's in the past, right? But recent performance has been a little shaky for the Rams.
Hey, it's to me, it comes down to taking advantage of opportunities. It's
Yeah.
like a game boils down to for a couple of opportunities you need to make. And San Fran didn't take advantage of the opportunities they have. Tart dropped, and I know no one's
my God,
harder
so
on himself
tough, man.
than Tart is right now. But that it has to be mentioned, right? You drop it,
tough.
and then Stafford rebounds, and the Rams go and kick a field goal and get points out of it. And then Jalen Ramsey drops a pick. That's an opportunity to give. That's new life given to you. Jalen Ramsey should have taken this probably to the crib. Like, that's new life to you, and then you punt it two plays later. Like, that's an opportunity you have to take advantage of, and at least extend the drive. At least give yourself a better field position. You don't do anything with the ball, and you punt 2 plays later, and the game goes on. The Rams win it. So there's opportunities that the 49ers didn't make that doesn't come out.
Yeah, and just small things like they had 4th and 2 at the Rams 45. They give the ball to Debo there, they're getting the first down.
Yeah,
and they take a delay when they're not going to jump, and because Kyle Shanahan is afraid of Jimmy G in the 4th quarter, and I think that gets into Jimmy G's head, and Jimmy G proves Kyle Shanahan. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah,
vicious cycle.
And it's like I pulled up the stats for the 4th quarter of Sunday's game and the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl, and they're roughly the same for Jimmy G. 3 of 9, 30 yards a pick, versus 3 of 11, 36 yards and a pick. Yeah. I won't tell you which one's which because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they lost them both. Yeah.
And in the 6 playoff starts that Garoppolo has, he has a 28 pass already in the 4th quarter. That's last among all quarterbacks with 30-plus 4th quarter passes since 1991.
This the guy you try to sell me on?
That's
the winner. This the winner.
I don't think he's a good. What I say he's not a good quarterback, but he's a winner. He's a winner.
Oh, let me ask you.
I don't think
he's the only quarterback in the NFL right now with 2 Super Bowl rings.
Get out of here.
Yeah, see, that's
wrap your head around it.
Is that true?
Wrap your head around it. Yeah, right.
When keeping it real goes wrong. When
because Tom Brady's not in the NFL anymore.
Jimmy G, here's all you got to ask yourself. Does a winner with the game on the line throw the ball backwards without looking at the receiver to end the game on an interception?
I'm gonna defend Jimmy G on that play.
It hit the guy in the hands.
Don't. He can't take that sack because it'll be like 4th and 30. He's got to do a desperation throw to hope it's incomplete so they can have a shot.
Right,
he could have thrown it at that guy's feet though.
Yeah, but he's falling down doing like a shovel. But Jimmy G got him in that bad situation.
And here's, I don't know why I'm about to defend him, but here's the thing. Like, put yourself in that moment. You're trying to throw it your brain just automatically tries to throw it at something. So as you're falling, you see a body, so you just toss it in that direction.
You got Aaron Donald running that.
Yeah, and it just happened. You threw it too high.
This goes on maybe Shanahan more than it does Jimmy G, but okay, in that end of game scenario, we saw how the Chiefs handled it. You leverage on 2 of your best players. We play Tyreek Hill, go deep, Kelsey fills in underneath, vice versa. You could do the same exact thing with Debo and Kittle to pick up easy yards. I would have to assume. Now, maybe they were playing defense. That's just an assumption.
Right.
I don't know. Tough spot.
But we know Shanahan will give Debo the ball.
Instead of hating on everyone, we got to give flowers to Cooper Kupp.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you could argue that if the MVP was decided now, they'd give it to him after how Rodgers played in the playoffs and Brady didn't.
Stafford been playing.
Yeah.
So he had 11 catches, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Rams had 11 third down conversions. 6 of them were Cooper Kupp catches.
Give your best player the ball in the time. Yeah, give your best player the ball in the time.
Absolutely monster.
Now, good on Sean McVay for doing that. Give my best player the ball when it matters. But I do want to get back to the Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay point of them having terrible games. Probably the Sean McVay that was like the worst performance, one of the worst performances I've seen from him. Just on
nothing as bad as the Super Bowl he lost.
That's true. But this was pretty bad. And then Kyle Shanahan on the other side too, because I remember going in, I was hype about this coaching matchup,
right?
And they proved me completely wrong.
I think and I think they are, and I think most people would say so. They're the two best young coaches in the league.
Yeah. So that was just weird to see them just tripping over themselves going down the stretch.
It's weird. What I will give McVay is, though, I think the Rams were ready to play football. The 49ers, maybe not so much. I think the Rams defense is also something that we have to talk about because they shut down probably the best rushing attack in the league. I know the Eagles were statistically, but when it all comes down to that, the 49ers probably had a better run game. They can do more things. They only had 50 yards rushing on 19 attempts.
Yeah.
That's 2.6 yards per carry. That's not good at all. And we can wrap that in with Jimmy G, right? That game was still close, and no, Jimmy G didn't play well, but everything that had worked around him wasn't working around him anymore, and he still had a shot to come win the game.
And I said in the group chat, like, Rams are playing the run hard. They were flying into those. They were going to, smartly enough, force Jimmy G to beat them, as you just said. Like, we said on the podcast, guy can be running wide open. Jimmy G just cannot get him.
Yeah, I've seen playing the run, and I've seen assuming the run, and that's just assuming you're going to run. You're literally going to have to beat us. We're not even gonna we're not gonna play smartly. I'm shooting a gap if I see it, make Jimmy G beat him. So, but before we move on, who do we roughly think? Because this is how we'll get into it without getting to it. Who do we think deserves to win more? This was a little conversation we were having off camera before because I want Kyle to present his point. That's all. I want to put Kyle on the spot.
Well,
but who do we think deserves to win this game more? Because it's the up and coming team, the young up and coming team who's looking to cement a legacy, and there's a bunch of veterans who it's a long time coming for them. So who do we think deserves it more?
That's a weird question.
The Rams.
Deserves to win. The Rams deserve to win.
They knocked out the defending champions at the defending champions' house. I know they almost blew it, but they did that.
Right.
That's huge respect. They went 12-5. They won the hardest division in football, and they've had stretches this postseason where they were dominant against the Cardinals. They were dominant in the first 3 quarters of.
All right, we're gonna move on now because, like we said, we're in the lull period. So. Good time to get into some NBA talk, right? We really are neglecting the NBA this year, but the NFL has just been so much better. It's been
Look at the last 2 weeks of
football. Yeah. It's why we talk about the NBA. But here's for all your NBA fiends. Here's some NBA for you. So we've taken a look at the Vegas win projection totals at the beginning of the season, and we've identified some teams who are going to blow out their win projection totals, the biggest winners, we'll call them, and then we have some teams who are projected right now to fall in very under that win projection. We're calling those the biggest losers. So we'll start on the winner side. And a team that we've talked about before, we'll highlight them again. The Cleveland Cavaliers right now sitting at 31-20. Their over and under was 26.5 wins. They've already beaten the over under, which is great, right? So they're on pace for 50 wins. That's a differential of plus 23.5 wins. So the Cavs blowing out projections. And I mean, they have, I think, a great young core. People are talking about Darius Garland should be have all-star considerations. I wouldn't hate it, to be honest. I wouldn't hate it, to be honest. I love his progression and how he's doing. They're the only team who has hit their win total or lost too many games to be able to do so in this season. The only team that's qualified to do that so far. Which is impressive for the Cavs, man. For a team that was supposed and a team that has no Colin Sexton right now. It's operating without their quote-unquote best young player.
Not even that far over 50% of the season down to already knock that one out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Vegas was wrong in projecting them there, but it speaks to how well the Cavs have played. Because we talked about them, 2 months ago now? And this was a team we thought were going to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
We made that breakaway video about Evan Mobley, Rookie of the Year. Well, yeah, Kate Cunningham's back there, and he's hooping. Scotty Barnes at the time was still hooping in Toronto. And we were like, Mobley could win it. Well, now he's minus 250 to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, doing this past Colin Sexton injury, Sexton only played 11 games. Didn't matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be a 1-2 backcourt. It's really now just a 1 backcourt, but Rubio is so good.
Yeah, but it's opened up the floor for Darius Garland. Yeah.
That's
I'm saying Rubio.
Oh, yeah, been hurt. Yeah. Got hurt.
But just the way they've done it, I think the two bigs work. I think you go Mobley, Jarrett Allen. Not a lot of teams do that. That works.
Mm-hmm.
A young team, especially having athletic guys. I mean, Jarrett Allen somehow fell through the cracks. I know he probably had to get moved from the Nets to make that team happen. But people forget how dominant he was at shot blocking and being an athletic big. And now you get a guy in Mobley to go beside him who can also play the wing, who's a great passer for his size, very underrated. Can shoot the mid-range very well, working on the 3 ball, but he's hitting them.
I mean, it's crazy that they're 11 games over 500, 51 games in the season.
Lead the East in point difference.
But they earned it.
11-4 in the last 15, keeping alive in a very gritty Eastern Conference, and they beat the Bucks on their home floor not too long ago, a couple of nights ago. And Giannis came to the postgame and was like, "Yo, this is a good team. This is not the Cavs that people are thinking of, the down and out Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a good basketball team. Like people, like they need their respect. They're going to be in the playoffs. Like it's time to start realizing that the Cavs are not a fluke this
You
year."
know who also needs their respect? Kevin Love.
I was about to say.
Yeah, K Love's still hooping on. Go ahead, on.
The first 16 games of the season are averaging 10 points per game and like 4 rebounds. And then you realize the Cavs were good and started to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want to be there.
And since then he's averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds off the bench, and he's shooting 42% from three. He's been a great bench weapon for them when they have to take either Mobley or Allen out of the game.
It's almost right. That's like when you talk about like finding added value in the middle of the season. We won't bring up another team that is suffering through that right now. Like having a guy like Kevin Love who in the locker room can be a leader. He's a guy who's seen and done it all, going to championship teams. And then on top of that, just as a fit as a basketball player, he is the perfect piece. Like the perfect
glue
piece
guy,
coming in off the bench for what they're looking for, what they're looking to replace when they take Mobley and Allen off the floor. Maybe less so Allen, but definitely Mobley. And hats off to him. I think he is the favorite right now to win the Rookie of the Year, right? Minus 250.
Mobley, oh yeah.
I actually kind of would bet. I might bet on Cade right now. But I do think at the end of the day, that's just based on value. At the end of the day, I think Mobley has been the best one.
Yeah,
he's
been great for him.
Great season for them so far. Hopefully they can make a run.
Great. Another team having a great season. The Phoenix Suns. I mean, it's crazy to go to the finals next year and then you're already smashing your win projection total this year. But best start in franchise history off the 41-9 start. Their over and under was 51.5, so they're on pace for 67. That's a plus 15.5 win differential. I mean, the Valley Boys are doing it, man. It's the 5th highest in the league, and they're the 2nd best team against their win total. Very impressive. They're doing it as the other top teams in the Western Conference are starting to take a little bit of a dive. See the Warriors having a tough stretch. The Jazz have taken a nosedive. The Suns not only have stayed the course, but they've gotten better. It's man impressive to see.
Yeah, and Chris Paul's gotten better at this age. Is insane. Is he leading the league in assists? If not,
leading the league in assists, and he's like 2nd or 3rd in steals still.
Yeah, it's nuts. And the first thing that you said, how their win total going into the season was 5th highest, and they're smashing it. Like the Cavs, yes, are great, but think about the Cavs win total versus the Suns. For the Suns to get an advantage on their total, they have to win like 2 games for every 1 game the Cavs wins. Right. So it's ridiculous at that level. We know Chris Paul's been great, which I know you might talk about more. That's awesome. I mean, Devin Booker's been about what you expect. It's been the other guys. Now, I think you go to the finals, you get that experience. It's done wonders for this team. Mikal Bridges, we knew was supposed to be like, maybe Ayton's supposed to be the 3, but Mikal Bridges is supposed to be a great starter for them, a great fill play, more than a 3-and-D guy, maybe not too much more, but if he's a 3-and-D guy, should be the best 3-and-D guy in the league. Mm-hmm. And he has stepped up in my eyes. Last year, I put a lot of stock in him. It didn't work out. It worked out in a sense, but not where I thought he was. Now he's reaching the peak where I thought he was. Ayton's not making as many dumb plays anymore. And when you have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, you can get away with a couple of dumb plays. And if you're stepping up with them, then you're going to be 41-9. It's crazy.
To me, this is a big intangibles win. I think they're roughly the same team as last year, almost identical.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul was up 2-0 in the finals, and they lost it. And basically the narrative was, they missed their shot. Mm-hmm. The league was injured around them. The Lakers will be back next year, and we'll go to the Lakers. And the Nets will be back. And Chris Paul said, I got a taste, and I got close, and we're
not done yet. We're not done.
And I just think that leadership and Devin Booker playing so great in the finals and just coming up through, that just drive to like, this anger that they didn't get it is just driving them to keep winning and winning and winning. And it just embodies a championship team.
Yeah. I think it's no coincidence that Devin Booker, like as they're playing this great stretch, Devin Booker has bounced back from that beginning of the season woes, that weird kind of start to the season he was having. I don't think he was right after that finals loss. He has that finals loss, and he goes, I know he wins a gold medal, he goes to Japan, has to fly on the plane with 2 guys that he just lost to in the finals, has a sluggish start to the beginning of the season, but has been great ever since. And in these past 5 games has been even better. 33.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal a game. Like, he's been great, and the Suns are, on an 11-game win streak, 14 of the last 15.
And this is what, you guys mentioned Ayton, but he's been out for time to time with little small.
Out right now, now.
Nothing too major, but yeah, Devin Booker, I believe we could see him take a step that Joel Embiid took last year, is taking this year. In every single night, I'm going to come out and I'm a threat for a 30-piece every night, not just the nights I get up, and not just the nights where it's like, sometimes it's CP's night, sometimes it's Mikel's night, and there will be nights where that is the case. But going into a playoff series, I think we're starting to see Devin Booker, and it's obviously a small sample size, but 33.6 points, 6.4 rebounds, 3.8 assists over his last 5 games. Those are MVP numbers.
Yeah, for real. Another team that's doing really well. Their last game wasn't a representation of it. It was still a great game, actually, against the Sixers in overtime. They lost. But the Memphis Grizzlies, 35-18 right now. Their over-under was 41.5. So they're on pace for 54 wins. It's a plus 12.5 point win differential. We could encompass this in this right now, John Morant and Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
But John Morant. And their last game was just a microcosm of their entire team, where John Morant is going to have the most just calmest but most electrifying 37. Desmond Bane sprinkles in his 30, 5 threes. But I think when this team wins is when Jaren Jackson is giving them that extra push on offense. He didn't give it to him against Philly, and they lost the game. They were really carried by him, but that's kind of the microcosm of their whole season. But they've been great nonetheless.
They remind me a lot of like almost what we expected the Dallas Mavericks to become over time, with Luka Doncic as the guy. Then you also have Kristaps Porzingis, but the main difference is you're getting contributions like Desmond Bane out of nowhere. This guy on any given night give you 25. He gave the Sixers 34, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Career high. And
it's a great game, man.
And I just think that overall we're seeing John Morant become, just so we mentioned with Devin Booker, this team's going to go as far as Ja takes him, and I think that he can be a very real candidate for MVP this year. 5th leading, in terms of the odds, he's the 5th likeliest to win the award. Yeah. So that's saying something.
You know what team this Grizzlies reminds me of? And I promise this is a compliment. It's the Lowry DeRozan Raptors, where they're just...
I wouldn't think of that as an insult.
They get a bad rap because they got LeBron.
Yeah, right, because they got LeBron.
But they're just this amalgamation of just a bunch of really good players that play great together in a smaller market that just loves the team.
Yeah.
And they're just the perfect culture, and Morant fits that energy for the city perfectly. And Morant is going to be really fun to watch in postseason series as a favorite, just to see where that comes down for him.
And I think that's a great point, because what I'm so impressed with John Morant is he's showing me that he can do this consistently, through the season this young of an age. It's, second, third year in the league. He's showing me that he can do this for a complete series. Even guys like Devin Booker. This young, Devin Booker wasn't consistent. He'd give you 70 one night, and then he'd shoot 25% from the field the next night. You're like, okay, he can't do this for a series yet. Ja could do this for a series. Yeah. And I didn't think he'd be at this level this quickly. And then if you look, and I kind of hate to do this, bring one brother down to bring one up. But if you look at the number 1 overall pick in that draft, and, people are kind of putting them, head to head a lot, you got to be, if you're the Pelicans, looking at it was clear it was these guys, 1 or 2, and I chose Zion.
You were never not choosing Zion, though.
Really?
You're never getting away from Zion.
Yeah, you were taking
Zion. It's just really just retroactive.
Zion was locked at number 1 2 months.
If you told me Zion was going to play about 1 season in his entire 4-year contract for me, I maybe would have picked Zion.
Yeah, I maybe would have picked Zion. Right. I guess that's a very hindsight look at things, but you just got to be kicking yourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's difficult.
You also had an all-star Drew Holiday too at the time. I'm not looking at.
They're going to have probably
Morant,
one last chance, I think. He may just be gone. We don't have to go down this. That could be for a different episode. But one thing I will bring up before we move on from the Grizzlies, I don't know if you guys have anything to say on it, but 40% of their losses, 40% of their losses are by over 20 points. That's we let go, and not our night.
Oh yeah,
that worries me big time about going. You're in the playoffs. You're having to battle. Things aren't going your way. You can't be dropping the rope.
You can't fold. Yeah. You can't fold like that.
So that's just a scary piece for me.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Ja. I mean, it's hard not to be. What I will say as a team as a whole, though, not saying we know what Ja is, but at this point, he's not going to be the one to make the deep playoff run. It's going to be the whole team together.
Yeah,
because this is a very deep team. To Matt's point about very good players, they're 9 deep, and 9 deep of players you want. I'm talking the starting 5: DeAnthony Melton, Tyus Jones, Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark.
Yeah, Brandon Clark gives him such.
I mean, 9 guys who have now played with each other. All of them, I believe, besides Steven Adams, who's new this year, have all played each other for over a year now. Dylan Brooks still has only played about 20 of their 50-something games. I mean, he's arguably the second best player on the team. I think Jaren's back up to that point. But they're all very good. If Bane can keep shooting like this, if Ja keeps scoring like this, and you get a good night from Dylan Brooks or a good night from Jaren Jackson, right? You know Steven Adams is consistent in the paint. That's how this team will make a playoff run. Because they're a very good team. But to Jake's point, that does worry me a lot. Yeah. And I also don't think Ja can lead you through a playoff run. Right. I think he can lead you through a playoff series, like right, not a run. But he can't do it on a run.
But this is about overperforming expectations.
Right, and then they're doing that. But I think it's fair. I think we're doing the Grizzlies justice by putting them in playoff talks. Because I'm not talking – the Cavs? Yeah, the Cavs are talking about, hey, whatever you do in the regular season
is found money.
Hey, for the Grizzlies, just doing it in the regular season is not good enough for this team. You are playoff caliber, so we're going to judge you to that bar, and I think we're doing them justice and giving them respect.
And they're still very capable of doing it.
And to the losing by, the double digits getting blown out point, and of the Ja not leading them, they're doing this without Dylan Brooks. A high energy guy, a gritty guy like Dylan Brooks doesn't let you drop the rope. And I don't care how much we're getting beat by, we're going to compete when we're on this floor. Yeah. And that helps you because Dylan Brooks fills in a lot of those holes that help you in the playoffs. Yeah. Those getting on the floor plays, doing the extra things like Dylan Brooks will do that. Plus, will anchor up on the defensive end.
And that's
really this is the guy that you really don't need, really don't realize how necessary he is till you lose him. Yeah. The Danny Green, the Dario Saric is like the guys who you lose.
Marcus Smart, that too. He's like an energy.
He's like Marcus Smart. Like what's the best part of Dylan Brooks' game? It's his defense, especially on this team. And that's why they can make a run.
Yeah. We're gonna move to the teams who we thought were gonna make runs. And it's getting shaky, baby. And that's the biggest losers, the guys who are underperforming their win projections. Why not talk about them again? Why not talk about them again?
Man.
The Los Angeles Lakers. Why not? 24-27, they're over and under. Was 52.5. So they're on pace for 39 wins right now. That's a minus 12.5 under your win projection.
Vegas is making a lot of money on this one.
It is probably amplified because they're LA, but like just really any like highly billed superstar led sports team, there you get so crushed by the media and fans when you underperform and you have these 3 guys and you said you guys are the stupid ones, we're the smart ones, we put this team together and it's going to work, and it doesn't work at all.
Especially when you try to shoot down the age thing and I guess everyone except Russ has gotten hurt. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we say y'all are old, but for reference for this whole thing, the Lakers and the Knicks right now have the same record at this point in the NBA season, and that should make every Lakers fan tremble right now.
Yeah, they have way less payroll, way less Hall of Famers on that squad.
Yeah, way less good things going on.
Way less young talent to build around because it's not your year.
Yeah.
The Lakers' number one problem, and he's having an okay season, that being AD, but Anthony Davis cannot be the best Anthony Davis with Russell Westbrook. And then beyond that, both of them individually are not having good years for what they are. So when you look at Russell Westbrook, he's kind of been billed, Mr. Triple-Double. He's a guy who racks up assists, but we've always said he's a guy who chases assists and isn't necessarily the most conducive to team basketball. That's proven this year. They have 8% less assists when Russell Westbrook is on the court compared to when he is off of it.
AKA the ball moves more.
Exactly. The ball keeps moving and finds open hands compared to Russ iso ball. And they're two points worse in offensive rating with him on the court. Translate to Anthony Davis as well. They are 5.7 points better with AD off the court this year compared to when he's on it. In offensive rating, that can be a skewed stat. I don't want to put everything into those stats and say these guys aren't good.
But
it's
the eye
definitely,
test, the eye test kind of like aids these stats.
The
right?
flag pops up.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about how their offense doesn't make sense, and they're right because it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But what also happens when you get a bunch of old vets together to be friends is none of them want to play defense. And they're 27th in the NBA in points allowed per game. Like, they're just like, someone else pick them up. And we know what LeBron does in the regular season on defense because he saves himself for the playoffs. But AD, ever since they won the chip, has just kind of been coasting on defense. He was a defensive player of the year. He was so good defensively in New Orleans, and now it's just kind of like.
And I don't think it was a coincidence that when he got to Lakers, LeBron was captaining him to be Defensive Player of the Year because he's like, hey, you going to have to do it on defense, big man. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, you have to do it on defense.
And you can tell that it's a little bit of lacking because in the big matchups, I watched the game against Philly, against Embiid. He had a really good – it was like the stretch.
He knew it was national TV.
Yeah. Exactly. A national TV against one of the best players at a similar position. People say he's not a center, but you know, like it is an effort thing for a lot of the guys on that team, and it's not just AD and Russ. You go down, Avery Bradley has not been good when he's been put out there. A lot of the Carmelo Anthony has not been great when he's been put out there. It could really come off. The wheels are
we don't
loose.
have to spend too much time braiding Lakers one because I'm pretty sure we'll get back to it again at some point in the NBA season. But as Russ likes to say, get into the playoffs and my record is 0-0. Sure.
Yeah.
You get in as the 7th or 8th seed, you get pummeled.
You better get
whatever,
there.
Whatever.
Le crypto.
Yeah.
Get your team together.
We're going to move on to the Indiana Pacers because this one kind of disappoints me. I'm like the Pacers for the past, 3, 4, 5 years have always been not the best team, but not a bad team. They've
Always a playoff team.
Always a
solid.
playoff team, always gritty, always fighting. They're 19-33 this year. Their over-under projection was 42.5, so they're on pace for 30 wins. That's a minus 12.5 win projection. And that's just disappointing. Fourth worst points per game allowed in the East. They've never been a crazy scoring team, but you know, to see the Pacers pretty much not have this life. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because a month and a half ago they're ready to blow this entire thing up, right? And I guess they still are. Trade deadline a week away, but
they're going to make a move.
They're going to make a move, right? So they're ready to. I mean, I got a lot of respect for Rick Carlisle, and it just doesn't seem like you talk about. It doesn't seem like he really like cares. Like it seems like he's kind of just yeah, it is what it is. We are who we are at this point. It's just kind of disappointing to see what's going on with the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, it's weird. I always felt like this team was not deep, but always really had guys they can rely on off the bench. That's not been the case this year. I mean, you have Sabonis, Brogdon, Duarte, and Turner, and that's about your whole team. And like Justin Holiday looks whatever. He's off the bench, but he's actually looks as good as he looked last year. But everyone else is really taking a step back. I like Malcolm Brogdon, but besides a stretch of games he had in December, it really hasn't been the same. Domantas Sabonis has really not been the same. And I mean, Miles Turner, you get on defense, but it's at the point where he needs to give you more on offense now.
And he's shown stretches where he's been really disgruntled with the team too. He had that little couple, 2-3 week stretch where he just wasn't playing, wasn't showing any effort out on the floor. Like it's that's not what I'm used to seeing from the Indiana Pacers.
They have been hurt.
They've been
crazy hurt.
To me, that's like where it comes down to, and you can tell because on the defensive end, they've been fourth worst in the East in terms of points allowed per game. And when you don't have lineups that can gel together for one reason or another, a lot of times it's, when you read off guys who have missed over 10 games, Malcolm Brogdon's missed 24, O'Shea Brissett, who plays a good chunk of minutes for them, 12, Turner's missed 10, LeVert 15, Jeremy Lamb 15, McConnell's going to miss the whole year. So, it's just very difficult to build a base and kind of ascend when you are having guys come in and out of the lineup all the time. You don't know if you're going to be on the team in a week. I would say if they can stabilize after the trade deadline, they're a team who could sneak into the back end of the playoffs.
I can't say it this year.
They have no closer, and their point differential is not bad, but they're 2-13 in games decided by 4 points or less, which is astonishingly horrible.
Yeah,
and it's just they don't have anyone to go to because they're just a bunch of decent guys. And,
but they've always been that. But to Kyle's point, they've always found themselves in the playoffs. They never had an amazing guy. Sabonis has been their best player.
Sabonis is taking a
for the past 5 years.
Back though, he is taking a legitimate step back.
Yes, he was a
I'm not going to say he was going to transcend, but the past 2 seasons he gave us compared to this season,
I remember
like you could just see it on the floor. He's not as good as he was.
He was a legitimate all-star last year, and of the guys we've named that missed over 10 games, Domantas Sabonis' name was not in there. So it's not injury that's been out of it, him and out of the lineup. He's been the only mainstay guy. And at the very least, if you're a good player, my team might stink, but I'm gonna get these points. I'm gonna get these buckets, and he's not doing that.
They're
right
really
now.
like the only team that's going to get forgot about this year.
Yeah.
Like you look at the playoffs, and maybe a team might miss the playoffs, but the Pacers have really gotten just like forgot about.
Yeah. I got a team that you might have forgotten about coming up next because they've been really bad too.
Yeah.
And a guy who's kind of fading out has been really bad too. The Portland Trailblazers. You want to talk about what is going on? Oh no. 21-30. Their over-under projection was 44.5, so they're on pace for 34 wins right now, minus 10.5 under their win projection. Like
I'm gonna be honest.
Kate Pasa.
I haven't watched. I don't know if I've watched more than like 3 minutes of Blazers basketball.
Really? There hasn't been a reason to. Most of the time, it's just Damian Lillard give you a reason to. He's not even.
And
giving you a reason
Lillard,
to.
I think
Anthony Simons is the reason to watch him.
Yeah,
my
he's been good.
If you're a real deep basketball fan, Simons.
I don't even know.
Lillard, just from looking at the stats, it just seems like he's a guy just going through the motions because his stats are awful. 40% from the field, 32% from three. That's just a guy begging to get traded, or just kind of like he's kind of just bored of the situation.
Yeah.
Well, and in like, you don't have to be a basketball player to understand what's going on there, right? Like, let's say you're good at your job, and the management and the synergy of the company is off. Messed up things are happening. When things start to go a little, things are tough. Like now, that time more than ever is when you throw your hands up. Like, oh, it's
there's no fight. Yeah,
it's like, you know what?
there's no
It's
fight.
beyond me at this point, and it is. They should blow that. They should have blown the Damian Lillard shot. In retrospect, over Paul George, may be the worst thing to ever happen to them since Greg Oden. Could easily be. Because if that doesn't go in, you get bounced from the playoffs. You can get off Dame or CJ or that build of team sooner. You get more out of Dame. And if you want to go this route, you could have went the OKC route and you would already be halfway built back by now. So, like, it's just a really tough situation.
You're saying the Damian Lillard shot started, and I like whoever put this in the script. I like this, and we're saying it out loud. It started the treadmill of mediocrity for the Blazers.
Correct, and they
Who put that in? Who put it in there?
That was me.
That was you. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what this is? The
Pacers
treadmill
are
of
kind of on
mediocrity?
it too, low key. Pacers have always been on it.
always been on it.
What I will say the difference is with them and the Pacers is I think the Pacers actually have a bad team.
Well, right, there's no star. There's no superstar. There's a superstar
The
on court.
Trailblazers have their best 2 players either missing a lot of time or not playing well. Because I've
That's
actually
3 too. I've Nurkic past 3 years.
Yeah, Nurkic, I guess.
Yeah.
He's never been like offensive. Yeah, but you're
He's
right.
also never been
You're right.
healthy.
But I mentioned Simons. I've also been really impressed with Norman Powell, who's low-key having a career year and playing very well. I mean, they have the pieces to where if Dame and CJ are playing like Dame and CJ, this team is good. Like back to the playoffs, not a playoff run or anything, but that really hasn't been them at all besides the 1 year they made it to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, Nas Little has taken a step up. I mean, like around them has been
made the
good.
Western Conference Finals because the Rockets were playing the Warriors in the second round.
Yeah, I know that's still more proving my point that like they've never really made it a playoff run.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The Dame's playing bad. He wants out. I think that's clear now. It's not. They're actually still only like 4.5 games back at the playoffs. I don't see them getting.
They're
there.
in the playing
game.
Yeah, I don't see them getting there. But I mean, if for some reason they have a miraculous turnaround, they're still beat to win a playoff series.
There's writing on. I mean, they're seeing the writing on the wall, and then there's literally writing on the wall. And I think Dame is legit writing on the wall himself. I am done. I want to go. It's over because he's trying to be as gangster as possible about it. Not actually say it, to the public. I'm gonna stand behind my guys and stand behind my city. I'm gonna go out there and play. But come on, brother. Like if we can see it now, and it translates to even like on paper.
Yeah.
Like we can see it
since
like
the jump of the season. Too. He got off slow. He hasn't done.
You're not saving face if you're not performing on the court as well, man.
I'm gonna float this. You can tell me if I'm crazy. I am crazy, but who says no? Damian Lillard.
Here we go.
For Zion Williams, who says no?
Kyle,
who says no?
Do you want to get to winners
says
and
no?
losers? Do you want to?
Who says no?
I don't hate it. I thought he was going to say Ben Simmons.
I thought you were going to bring the Sixers into it.
No, I'm not going to.
I don't
You
hate
don't
it.
hate
The
it?
Pelicans say no.
Yeah,
They
what?
can't do anything with Lillard at this point. Like, Lillard is 31. Will they be good enough in 3 years to do anything?
Okay, so ready.
Yeah,
This is
they have
this is-
J-Val, they have Brandon Ingram, they have Josh Hart.
You have
Pelicans are fun.
perennial.
Yeah, but they always have decent players and never are good.
Yeah, but I think like better than
They
they've
could have
had
3
right
All
now.
NBA players on that team. If you bring in Dame, I mean theoretically, if you have Zion back, but Zion's not coming, like whatever. This is probably for a different episode. You're right.
You're right. I actually think that I think both teams might slightly benefit,
Well, I have much
but I
more
think
drinks than
Zion's price is higher. I think you can get more that fits your team better for Zion. But I also
You're probably
like
right.
Dame on the Pelicans. I like the
Like-
thought of that.
Like Portland would do it. Portland should do it. I don't know if they would.
oh, they would. I see.
I do like. I mean, I think Dame would benefit
The
from
money
playing
doesn't
with a
even
really good
work.
big man, and we
I mean,
know
Zion's still in a rookie
JV benefits
JV,
from playing with a
SLNBA,
good.
what's up?
You like-
What's up?
You love JV. You didn't get to talk about JV getting
Oh, with
robbed
the
from a
Grizzlies.
far.
Yeah, they robbed JV.
You
JV
didn't
should
get
be
to.
on a run.
All right, yo, I like this episode or this segment. We're bringing this one back. Winners and losers, Kyle.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it short.
Let's
A fun one. We got one winner, one loser.
Okay.
One we got to get to, but the first one, loser, football teams. More specifically, the football team,
Yeah.
which is no longer a thing. I mean, the NFC East team from Washington is now known as the Washington Commanders.
Yo, shout out to my man CJ if he's listening this deep into this episode, because as soon as he heard the Washington Commanders, he said, "I'm clowning all 2022." He's like, "That's just the worst." I saw Kyle on Twitter say you should have just kept football team at that
Right.
point. Like I'm
I was
cracking
thinking
up, man.
I think
Yeah.
Commanders is just like,
No,
That's
this little
I
this
don't-
little Giants
Dude,
name.
Commanders
This,
right. Yeah. Remember PMIC?
Yeah,
Like,
sounds like-
if the Chargers became the Chargers, I would be clowning them for like being an iPhone.
if
Charger.
there was a
like
if there was
a
a
bunch
football
of team names are stupid.
their
there
team
was a-
nickname is going to be the Commies.
if there
and
was
they're red and yellow.
if there was a
communists,
football
bro. We
if there
gotta-
was a football version of High School Musical, like
The
they,
Rivals
it would be
America's
they would be the Commanders. If there was a football version of High School Musical, like they would be
The black
Commanders.
jersey's cool, but the jerseys still look super generic.
Now let me
We'll
bring
see what
this
they
up.
look like in person.
Let me bring this up. I 100% could believe that Snyder did this out of sure like pettiness. Like, okay, you want to rename the team, and now you're forcing me to pick a name, because I do think the NFL was leaning on him to pick a name. Hard to get merch off when it says football team on it. Like
You can't trademark it.
you can't do anything with
I
that.
liked football team better.
like I 100% believe Dan Snyder would do this out of just pettiness.
To be
Like, just
honest,
like,
the reason
I'm
why
gonna make
football-
up that corny name.
The reason my football team's not better is because when you say, "Oh, who's coming? Who are we playing week 7?" You can't say the football team.
Yeah.
You have to say the Washington, which is just who are we playing week 7? The Commanders. Like you can.
There's only one
it-
football
the
team.
Commanders. Ugh.
It's not good, but it's not terrible.
Well,
It's the most bland,
they
generic name ever.
They made the classic mistake of trying to make a big, serious decision in the day of social media. You're always getting
That's
clowned.
true. All right,
They're
we gotta
incredible.
run quick to the loser.
Well, that was the loser.
Oh, they run quick.
The
to
winner is
the
Tom Brady, and duh. I mean, he's the most winning player in NFL history. We got to talk about him. He announced his retirement, obviously, officially this time. Adam Schefter jumped the gun, and everyone knows that by now. So I'm going to give the Buccaneers fan a short amount of time, about the same amount of time Brady spent in Tampa Bay, to say whatever he has to say.
Oh, good one,
and then
man.
and then we'll
That
chip
was a good
in.
one. I mean, look, I have no problem, and I don't think people should, with calling Tom Brady a Buccaneers legend, a Buccaneers icon, the Buccaneer Tom Brady, even though it was very short-lasted in Tampa Bay. I wasn't prepared for him to leave this soon, especially going out with maybe, going to be the MVP with leading the league in yards and TD passes. But I mean, with just what an accomplished career. Like, he brought my team in one season, something that we hadn't sniffed in 18 years. And so for him to come and do that in one season, like, I can't be mad that he left earlier than expected. I can't be, upset with this decision. And when you start hearing things from Tom Brady, like, I'm satisfied, or like, it's time for me to focus on being a dad and being a husband, that's stuff that is not changing in his mind. That's stuff that he's ready to move on to the next chapter in his life. So I'm incredibly grateful for him coming, incredibly sad for him leaving, and I'm incredibly scared for the state of my football team.
Good luck.
Because I'm not ready to see a bad football team again. I'm not.
They're not
Like,
gonna be bad.
I
they'll be above average, but not much better.
The NFC South is horrible, so you got to.
Oh yeah, they're automatically like one of the worst divisions of football.
Got dudes locked up all across the board.
Except Chris Godwin.
You know, it's a crazy stat from Brady. It's not really a stat, but like that's crazy that I just learned. He's only missed 19 games in his whole career. He missed 11 or 15 to a knee injury, all of the 2007 season, I believe, or 09.
08.
Well, 08 they won this. They lost Super Bowl.
No, 07.
Okay, so I count that as 08 because Super Bowl was in there. But yeah, 08 season, and then 4 games to the Deflategate suspension.
Yeah,
he played every single game outside of that. Was 200 something and like 70 something. I mean, it's gonna be crazy. Like literally the GOAT.
Yeah,
like, it's so Matt.
Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say it.
He's the GOAT of quarterbacks.
Matt, like what? Like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Jerry Rice is the GOAT to me.
The asterisk that he finds somewhere in it every single time.
7 Super Bowls.
That's a team stat.
It is like
that's madness.
It's like getting
madness
of the same magnetism.
Saying Jerry Rice is the GOAT is not madness.
No, it's actually that's not madness.
That's not madness. But that's actually the first time I've heard you definitively say that. I don't know.
It's actually something I like maybe technically believe, but the way he said it, like, it's like the GOAT of QBs.
Kyle, we've been doing this podcast with it's going on 3 years now. When have you, Jake, heard him say that Jerry Rice is ever?
People have been saying like, "Oh, Brady's the
we had a whole
athlete
episode
ever,"
on this,
and it's just like, "Oh God!" Like,
what I want to say,
Matt, we had an entire episode on this exact discussion, and you never once said Jerry Rice's name.
Because we were talking about quarterbacks.
Oh, but
he's one talking about Peyton Manning. Winner. Okay, I'll shut down. Winner. Most winningest player in the NFL, undoubtedly.
Yes.
And retiring and is going to still be a winner because his wife is a supermodel.
He's winning.
He's a billionaire.
He's won.
So, winner in football and winner in life. So
the game is over.
Congrats on your retirement, Tom Brady. And now let someone else win.
Be happy that someone else is going
to win. Yeah, someone else gets win. Well, we beat him, so.
That's true. All right. We got to move through this quickly, but we can get some shots about the buzzer as we always do. Who's got something to say the buzzer before we ride out?
Just really quick, because I'm going to mention it maybe in a YouTube video, maybe next episode. But we gave out before the year our favorite 3 bets for the year. I had the Rams winning the NFC. I think it was like plus 850. That came home. And then I put some real money on Rams to win the Super Bowl. Going to make out nicely there too. So I hope you guys ride
with them.
And if not, there's always going to be more opportunities down the road to do so. So hop on.
I'll bounce off that point. That'll be on the Straight Facts YouTube channel. So get in there.
YouTube,
Straight Facts YouTube. We are on the road to what our goal was, 100 subs. That's the first goal. Every mountain has some milestones in it, and 100's our next one. And appreciate you guys for tuning in. And you want winners? Jake just gave you a reason to tune in.
Like, we got winning tickets over here.
Jake just gave you a reason to tune in.
I just want to say I'm really hoping this Brian Flores stuff uncovers the mold that's been sitting behind the walls of the NFL for years, because it's honestly just absurd. the bull that black coaches go through in the NFL, and it's just I'm really rooting for him.
Me too, because it could cost them a future job.
It probably will. Yeah. And I'll say it quick because I don't want to get too deep into this. It's not what we do on this podcast. But there is something to be said for how courageous and necessary it was that Brian Flores did. It's why I'm completely behind him. Because for the longest time, when someone brings up race in the NFL, they bring it up and there's no one to blame. There's no one to answer to. There's no one to call to. And what Brian Flores and Colin Kaepernick did too, which is why that was also so crazy, is it made people like stand up and face somebody. Like, I am actually accusing you of a certain situation, a particular like case that it happened, and you have to answer as to why it happened and why it will never happen in the future. And that's why it's so big and so necessary. Kyle, not probably going to cost him the job. I think it will. It will cost him a job in the NFL. But like he said on Get Up on Wednesday morning, like, I need change, or the NFL needs change. This needs to no longer happen. So I'm with him. I'm just, it's so much to take in at one time, but it once again highlights a problem that everybody knows. But now Brian Flores is going after a particular situation, and I heard a lot of people talk about the timing of it being a bad time for him to bring it up. But I don't think there's ever a bad time to bring something like this up. And he
He'll
should
always say it's a bad time.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have to wait till the very end of the entire coaching hiring process to point out a specific situation. That's why there's never a bad time to do it, because he's talking about one particular instance, not just the whole phenomena of it. So just more proud of Brian Flores. I hope much more things start to get uncovered through this whole process. But that's all the time we have for this episode of Straight Facts. It was a good one, hit a lot of topics on this one. So shouts out to everyone, all of our viewers for staying locked in with us. Also shout out to the Up On Game Presents a Network. And shout out to my three guys, for Jake Galley, Kyle Sirik, Ed Stat, Matt Robinson. I'm James Jackson. These have been the facts.
Straight up.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.